Get out of my house." Those were my son's last words before he threw me into a storm at age 62, all because of a staged performance by his gambling addict wife to frame me. I walked into that freezing rain thinking about all those years of sacrifice. 3 hours later, when police called him to the hospital, his hands trembled uncontrollably. "I'm so grateful you're here." Before we start, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from your city country? Anywhere in the world. Quick note, this story includes fictionalized elements for entertainment and educational purposes. Any resemblance to real names or places is coincidental, but the message is entirely real. My name is Diane Fletcher. I am 66 years old. Last year, I stood on a stage at a charity gala and told 200 people how my son threw me out in a storm. The room went silent. Some people cried. Others stared mouths open, unable to believe a son could do that to his mother. But let me take you back to where it all began. 4 years earlier, in October of 2021, I believed I had everything. I lived in a quiet Portland suburb with my son Stephen, his wife Amber, and their 4-year-old daughter Hannah. The house had pale yellow siding and a small front porch where Stephen had hung a wooden swing. Inside, family photos covered the walls. Hannah's drawings filled the refrigerator held in place by strawberry and ladybug magnets. My husband William had died 5 years before, a sudden heart attack. One morning he was drinking coffee and reading the newspaper. By evening he was gone. After the funeral, after selling our small home and settling the estate, I gave Stephen and Amber $120,000. It became the down payment for this house, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a backyard where Hannah could play. I moved into the small bedroom on the first floor beside the laundry room. I didn't mind. I wanted to be useful. I wanted to matter. Every morning I woke at 6. I brewed coffee, cracked eggs into bowls, sliced bread for toast. By 6:30, the kitchen smelled of butter and cinnamon. Hannah would come padding down the stairs in her pajamas, hair sticking up wildly, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Grandma, she'd call, and my heart would swell. She always said my name first. I'd lift her onto the counter, kiss her forehead, pour milk into her cup. She'd tell me about her dreams, her imaginary purple dinosaur, and her request for pancakes shaped like butterflies. Stephen came down next, already dressed for work in a button-down shirt and khakis. He worked long hours as a software engineer downtown. "You're the best mom," he'd say, taking the coffee I'd poured. "I don't know what we'd do without you." I smiled every time. Those words made the early mornings and endless chores feel worthwhile. I was needed. Amber appeared last, always rushing, always distracted. She worked in marketing, coordinating campaigns for a downtown firm. She grabbed her coffee, barely glanced at breakfast, kissed Hannah's head, and hurried out the door. But I noticed things. The way Amber's smile tightened when Stephen asked my opinion before hers. "Mom, what do you think about refinancing? Or Mom, should Hannah do soccer or swimming?" Amber would pause coffee halfway to her lips. Her eyes would flicker, just for a second. Then the smile returned. I told myself I was imagining it. Amber loved me. She was grateful for the childcare, the housework, the money that made this life possible. I was wrong. One evening in late September, I folded laundry in the living room while Stephen worked on his laptop. Amber stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, watching us. Stephen laughed at something I said about a sock losing its match, and I laughed too. When I looked up, I caught Amber's face. Hard, cold, jaw-clenched eyes narrowed. Then she blinked, the mask slipped back on, and she smiled before walking away. I didn't understand it then. But Amber was already planning, already planting doubts that would soon destroy everything. Over the next 6 months, the lies began small, so small I almost missed them. It was April when I first noticed Amber's voice change. I was in the kitchen washing lunch dishes when she came home early from work. Hannah sat at the table with crayons coloring a rainbow. I had given her carrot sticks for a snack. She ate 2, then pushed the plate away. "Grandma, I don't want them." "Just 3 more bites, sweetheart. They're good for your eyes." Hannah scrunched her face and shook her head. She made that soft pre-cry sound 4-year-olds use when they're testing limits. Then Amber walked in. She dropped her purse, saw Hannah's face, and her expression shifted instantly. "What's wrong, baby?" "Grandma's making me eat carrots." Amber scooped her up. "Oh, sweetheart, you don't have to eat anything you don't want to." She looked at me over Hannah's shoulder. Her voice was sweet, but her eyes weren't. Mom, she said she didn't want them. I was just trying to... I know. Maybe next time let me handle it. That night, I passed their bedroom carrying laundry and heard my name. Your mom made Hannah cry today, Amber said, over carrots. She wouldn't let it go. My stomach dropped. That wasn't what happened. Stephen's voice was quieter. Mom's just trying to help. I know, but it's a lot sometimes. The constant hovering. I stood there holding clean towels, feeling like I'd been slapped. In June, it happened again. Hannah had been cranky for days, rubbing her eyes by noon. I suggested an earlier nap. Just a thought, I said gently. Maybe 12:30 instead of 2. Amber smiled, thanked me, said she'd think about it. That weekend, Stephen approached me. Mom, did you tell Amber she's putting Hannah down at the wrong time? No, I just suggested. She said you criticized her parenting. Stephen, I didn't. I know you mean well, but Amber's her mother. We need to respect that. My face burned, of course. He kissed my forehead. Maybe run things by me first. I nodded and swallowed the hurt. By August, the lies were bolder. Stephen came to me one afternoon uncomfortable. Mom, did you complain about Amber's cooking? What? She said you told me her spaghetti was too salty. That's not true, I said. You believe me, don't you? He hesitated. Just a second, but I saw the doubt flicker. Of course, he said. She must have misunderstood. But the seed was planted. I started noticing things. Amber checking her phone, obsessively angling the screen away, intercepting the mail before Stephen saw it. Credit card statements that used to sit on the counter disappearing. One night at 2 a.m, I found her in the home office. The computer glowed in the dark. Her shoulders were tight. When she heard me, she closed the window so fast the cursor blurred. Can't sleep, I asked. Work stuff. Her smile was too bright. You should go back to bed. I should have asked questions. I didn't want to cause trouble. I told myself I was imagining things. I wasn't. The bank alert came on a Tuesday morning in late September. Stephen was pouring coffee, still in pajamas. His phone buzzed. He glanced down and went pale. What the hell, he whispered. I looked up. What's wrong? He didn't answer. His hands shook as he stared at the screen. Amber stepped into the doorway, makeup half-done, curling iron in hand. She saw his face, saw the phone. Her body went rigid. She knew exactly what that alert meant. And in that moment, I understood whatever was coming, Amber had planned for it. She just hadn't expected it to happen this soon. Stephen began moving through the house like a ghost. His shoulders stayed tight, his jaw clenched. At breakfast, he stopped making eye contact with me. When Hannah asked him to play blocks, he said he had work calls. He never had work calls on Saturday mornings. Amber changed too, but differently. She watched me. Every time I entered a room, her eyes followed. When I reached for my phone, she glanced up. When I opened my purse, she straightened in her chair. I told myself I was imagining it. Tuesday evening, I heard them talking behind their bedroom door. The words were muffled, but the tones were clear. Stephen's voice rose and fell, anxious, confused. Amber's stayed calm, steady, almost soothing. The conversation lasted an hour. When they came downstairs, Stephen's eyes were red. Everything okay? I asked. Fine, Mom, he said without looking at me. Wednesday morning, I made pancakes. Hannah ate 3. Stephen ate half of 1. Amber pushed hers around the plate and kept checking her phone. I asked if she wanted to go to the farmer's market with me and Hannah later. She said no, she had errands. I didn't ask which ones. By Thursday, Stephen started asking strange questions. Had I been to the Hilton downtown recently? Did I know anyone with the initial J? Had I applied for any new credit cards? I laughed nervously. Why would I need a credit card? I have savings. He nodded slowly. Right, of course. That night, I noticed my Bible had been moved. It always sat on my nightstand with the spine facing out. Now the spine faced in. Someone had touched it. I opened it. Everything looked normal. I told myself I must have moved it and forgotten. Friday arrived with heavy gray skies. Rain hung in the air, metallic and sharp. Hannah wanted to bake cookies, so I pulled out flour and sugar. Amber stayed upstairs. Stephen shut himself in his office. At 4 p.m, Amber's voice drifted down from the top of the stairs. Stephen, you need to see this. Her tone made my stomach drop. It was the voice people use when they've found something terrible. I stood frozen at the counter, flour on my hands, listening to footsteps, drawers, opening doors, closing. Then silence. Stephen's voice broke it low and sharp. "Where did you find this?" I wiped my hands on a towel and walked toward the stairs. Before I reached the first step, Stephen appeared at the top. He held papers, my phone, my Bible. His face was white. "Mom," he said, his voice cracked. "We need to talk." I climbed slowly. My legs felt heavy. Amber stood behind him in the hallway. Her eyes were red, but her expression wasn't angry or sad. It was something else. Stephen held up my phone. "There's a text message from someone named Jay." "I don't know anyone named Jay." He showed me the screen. The message was short, intimate, thanking me for last night, mentioning a hotel. "That's not mine," I said. "I didn't send that." He held up a receipt. "This was in your desk drawer. Hilton Hotel, 2 weeks ago." "I've never been there." He opened my Bible. Cash spilled onto the floor, 20s, 50s, hundreds. $200, Stephen said quietly. "Hidden in your Bible." Amber began to cry. She didn't look at me. "Stephen," I said, shaking, "none of this is mine." He held up one final paper, a credit card approval letter with my name. "The $5,000, Mom," he said. "Where did it go?" Rain began tapping the windows. "I didn't take anything," I whispered. Stephen looked at me. I saw his father's eyes, disappointed, resolute. "I think you need to leave," he said. The words hung in the air between us. "I think you need to leave." I stood at the top of the stairs staring at my son. Stephen would not look at me. He turned and walked toward his bedroom. Amber followed, glancing back with tears already forming. Their door closed. I went downstairs, slowly gripping the banister. The living room was dark. I turned on one lamp and sat on the couch. Rain had started outside, soft tapping against the windows. My hands shook. Leave this was my home. Stephen was my son. Everything I had left was under this roof. The clock on the mantel read 8 o'clock. Upstairs, voices murmured through the ceiling. Stephen's low, Amber's urgent. I sat in the dim light and waited. Maybe Stephen would calm down. Maybe we could talk. The rain grew louder. At 8:30, footsteps came down the stairs. Stephen appeared first, his face like stone. Amber followed, clutching my phone in one hand, my Bible in the other. Her eyes were swollen and red. "I'm so sorry, Diane," she whispered. "I didn't want to believe it, but I saw you last week at a coffee shop with a younger man." My stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" Stephen sat across from me. "She saw you laughing with him, touching his arm." "That never happened." Amber held up my phone, tears streaming. "Then I found the text message from Jay, the hotel receipt in your desk, the cash in your Bible, the credit card letter." Her voice broke. "The $5,000, Diane. That was Hannah's college fund." Stephen stood up shaking. "How could you do this? After Dad died, I gave you a home. I trusted you with Hannah, and you steal from your own granddaughter. Stephen, please." I reached for him. He stepped back. "I didn't take anything. Someone planted this evidence." "You think Amber is lying?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "You think she planted fake texts, fake receipts, fake cash in your own Bible?" I looked at Amber. Her face showed perfect grief, perfect betrayal. If I had not been the one accused, I might have believed her too. In her eyes, for just 1 second, I saw something cold, something calculated. Then she buried her face in her hands. "I don't know why she would," I whispered. "But I'm telling you the truth." Stephen shook his head. "Get out." "What?" "Get out of my house." His voice went flat. "Dead. I don't want a thief near my daughter." He walked to the front door and opened it. Rain blew in, soaking the floor. The storm had grown worse. "Stephen, it's freezing. Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not my problem anymore." He held the door open. "Leave. Now." I grabbed my coat and purse with shaking hands. My phone stayed in Amber's grip. At the doorway, I looked up the stairs. Hannah's nightlight glowed yellow beneath her door. She was sleeping. She had no idea her grandmother was being thrown out. "Stephen." I tried once more. "I love you. I love Hannah. I would never—" The door slammed in my face. Rain soaked through my coat within seconds. Wind cut through me. I walked down the steps into darkness. No phone, no one to call, nowhere to go. I did not know that in 3 hours I would be lying in a hospital bed. I did not know this night would change everything. I only knew my son believed I was a thief, and nothing I said mattered. The rain fell harder. I kept walking. Hawthorne Boulevard stretched endlessly ahead through the downpour. My coat was already soaked water pooling in my shoes with every step. The streetlights blurred into halos of yellow light. I needed to call someone. Under the awning of a closed bookstore, I pulled out my phone. 15% battery. My hands shook as I dialed Deborah Ross. We had been friends since nursing school 40 years ago. The phone rang once, then a recorded message. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. When had that happened? I tried my brother Andrew next, straight to voicemail. Andrew, it's Diane. Please call me back. I need help. My voice cracked. I stared at the screen. 10% battery. No one called back. 5 minutes later, the phone went black. Dead. I put it in my purse and kept moving. The walk downtown took over an hour, maybe longer. I lost track of time. Essie Hawthorne seemed endless. My legs felt like lead. The temperature had dropped to 45 degrees. My teeth chattered so hard I bit my tongue. Cars passed occasionally. Their headlights cut through the rain, but no one stopped. By the time I reached Pioneer Courthouse Square, I could barely stand. The square was empty. Rain pounded the brick pavement. I stumbled to a stone bench and collapsed. Water pooled around me instantly. I sat there shaking violently and let myself think. 35 years I raised that boy. Changed his diapers when William worked double shifts. Paid for his college with my nursing assistant's salary. Gave him $120,000 from selling the house William and I built together. He believed her without a single doubt. He never asked for my side. I pressed my hands to my face. They were numb. I could not feel my fingers anymore. How long had I been sitting here? The cold had stopped hurting. That was worse. I had seen hypothermia cases at the hospital. Stage 1, violent shivering, confusion, numbness. I needed to move, find a police station, a shelter, somewhere warm. I tried to stand. The world tilted sideways. I grabbed the bench and waited for the dizziness to pass. When I finally stood, my legs almost gave out. Burnside Street. There was a police precinct near Burnside, or maybe a diner, anything. I started walking again slower now. Each step took effort. My wet clothes clung to me like ice. My coat weighed 10 pounds. Burnside Street appeared through the rain ahead. A major intersection. Cars moved past despite the late hour, their headlights reflecting off wet pavement in long streaks. I reached the curb. The light was red, but no cars were coming from the left. I stepped off the curb. Headlights suddenly blazed from my right. Brakes screamed. Tires screeched on wet asphalt. Then pain. Nothing but pain. The impact threw me sideways. My shoulder slammed into a car hood. My head cracked against pavement. Everything went white. When my vision cleared, I was lying on wet asphalt in the middle of Burnside Street. Rain pounded my face. Something warm ran down my forehead into my eyes. Blood. A car door slammed. Footsteps splashed through puddles running toward me. "Oh my God, ma'am, are you okay? Don't move, stay with me." A woman's face appeared above me. She looked about 45 with short dark hair plastered to her face from the rain. Her hands hovered over me, shaking. "I'm so sorry," she said. Her voice cracked. "You stepped right in front of me. I tried to brake, but oh God, you're bleeding." I tried to sit up. The world tilted violently. "No, don't move." Her hands pressed gently on my shoulders. "I'm a police officer, Officer Stephanie Young. This was an accident. You're not in trouble. I'm calling 911 right now." She pulled out her phone with one hand while the other stayed on my shoulder. I could hear her voice speaking rapidly to a dispatcher giving our location, describing my injuries. Then she took off her jacket and pressed it against my forehead. The pressure made me wince, but the bleeding slowed. "What's your name?" she asked softly. "Diane." I managed. "Diane Fletcher." "Okay, Diane, help is coming. You're going to be okay." I started crying then. I could not stop. Everything hurt. My shoulder throbbed. My head pounded. But worse than the physical pain was the crushing weight of everything that had happened tonight. "I don't have insurance," I said through tears. "I can't pay for this. I don't have anything." Stephanie's expression softened. "Hey, look at me." She waited until my eyes focused on hers. "You're hurt. We're going to help you. That's all that matters right now." "Okay." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. The ambulance arrived at 11:25. 2 paramedics jumped out. A young man with kind eyes knelt beside me. "Hi there, I'm Jake Morrison. Can you tell me your name? Can you squeeze my hand?" "Diane Fletcher," I squeezed weakly. "My son, he—" The words would not come. How could I explain? "We've got you, Diane," the other paramedic said. A woman maybe 30 with red hair pulled back in a tight bun. "I'm Kelly. We're going to take good care of you." They moved efficiently, checking my vitals, examining the gash on my forehead, feeling along my shoulder and ribs. Jake spoke into his radio while Kelly started an IV line. Stephanie stood up as they loaded me onto a stretcher. "I'm the driver," she told them. "I'm coming with her to the hospital." "You don't have to—" I started. "I know," Stephanie interrupted. She climbed into the ambulance behind the stretcher. "But I'm coming anyway." During the ride, Stephanie held my hand. She talked to me the whole time, asking simple questions to keep me conscious. Where was I from? How long had I lived in Portland? Did I like the rain? I answered as best I could. Her voice became an anchor, something solid in the chaos. We arrived at Legacy Emmanuel Medical Center at 11:50. The ER doors burst open. Nurses swarmed around my stretcher. Stephanie walked beside me, still holding my hand, until they wheeled me into an examination room. Dr. Emily Lawson was young, maybe mid-30s, with steady hands and a calm voice. She stitched the gash on my forehead. 4 stitches. She ordered a CT scan and x-rays. An hour later, she returned with results. "You're very lucky," she said quietly. "No broken bones, no serious head trauma, but you could have died out there." She paused. "Do you have anyone we can call family, friends?" I looked across the room. Stephanie still stood in the corner, her damp jacket draped over one arm. She had stayed this entire time. This stranger who had hit me with her car had stayed when my own son had thrown me out. The words broke my heart as I spoke them. "I don't have anyone." Stephanie heard me say I had no one, and she refused to leave. She pulled a chair to my bedside at 2 in the morning. The ER had gone quiet. Most patients were gone, fluorescent lights humming in the small curtained space. "Diane," she asked gently, "what were you doing out in that storm alone at 62? The story poured out through tears. My son, his wife's lies about money, fake text messages, a hotel receipt cache hidden in my Bible, a credit card notice. Stephen believing everything without asking me a single question, the confrontation, the rain." Stephanie's expression hardened with every detail. When I finished, she leaned back, jaw clenched. "Your son threw you out tonight in this weather." Her voice tightened. "That's elder abuse. That's a crime." "He thought I stole from him," I said quickly. "He thought I was lying." "He's your son," she said, leaning forward. "He should have listened. He should have protected you." I had no answer. She stayed beside me in silence. Around 4 in the morning, she pulled out her phone. "I'm calling someone," she said. "A friend who runs a nonprofit. She helps women in crisis. I don't need—" "Just listen," she said softly, "please." Dr. Judith Campbell arrived at 6. She was 58 silver streaks in her hair, eyes warm but sharp, as if she could read my entire life at a glance. "My name is Judith Campbell," she said, taking Stephanie's chair. "I run Haven House, a shelter for women in crisis, homelessness, abuse, family abandonment. Officer Young thought you might need a safe place." "I have money," I insisted. $60,000. I don't need charity." Judith didn't flinch. "This isn't charity. It's community." She leaned forward. "You were hit by a car 3 hours ago. You're traumatized. You need time to heal and decide your next steps. Let us help." My defenses collapsed. I don't even know where to start. "You start by saying yes," she said calmly. "That's all." I looked at Stephanie. The woman who hit me stayed 7 hours and called for help when no one else would. "Yes," I whispered. At 7, I was discharged. Stephanie drove me to Haven House in her Camry. Dawn filtered through rain clouds. Haven House was a 2-story brick building on a quiet street. Warm lights glowed inside as Stephanie walked me to the door. Inside, 3 women sat in the common room, one older holding tea, one younger with bandages on her arm, another about my age smiling gently. Judith led me upstairs to a small private room, a single bed with clean white sheets, a dresser, a window overlooking a garden. She handed me towels. "Rest today," she said. "Tomorrow join us for breakfast if you feel up to it. No pressure." At the door, she paused. "Officer Young mentioned you worked in medical offices. When you're settled, we could use help with basic health checks. Many women don't trust doctors, but they might trust someone who understands." I looked at Judith, at Stephanie, at these strangers who had become my lifeline in 12 hours. And I thought maybe I could survive this and help them heal too. The first week at Haven House, I barely spoke. I just existed. On the first day, I stayed in my room, lying on clean white sheets, staring at the ceiling. Every sound made me flinch: footsteps in the hallway, voices downstairs, pipes groaning. I kept expecting someone to knock and tell me I had to leave. Sunday morning, Judith knocked softly. "Breakfast is ready if you'd like to join us." I went downstairs. A long wooden table filled the common room. Irene, Christina, and Brenda sat with scrambled eggs and toast. They smiled at me. I sat at the end and listened. I said nothing about myself. Monday, I noticed Irene struggling with a pill organizer at the kitchen counter. 7 compartments 4 times a day. Her hands shook as she tried to sort tiny white pills from larger capsules. "May I help?" I asked. She looked up, relief flooding her face. "Oh, would you, dear? My eyes aren't what they used to be." I sorted her medications carefully, reading each label twice. Blood pressure, thyroid, arthritis, pain management. I remembered these drugs from my nursing assistant days. Their purposes, their risks. "Thank you," Irene said. "The nurse only comes twice a week. You're very good at this." "I used to work in medical offices," I said quietly. "A long time ago." Wednesday afternoon, glass shattered in the kitchen. Christina stood frozen, staring at her bleeding hand. Shards surrounded her feet. Her breathing came fast and shallow. I moved without thinking. Paper towels, cold water, her hand under the stream. "Look at me," I said calmly. "Breathe in for 4. Hold. Out for 4. You're safe." Her breathing slowed. I cleaned the cut, applied ointment, wrapped it in gauze, speaking steadily the whole time. "You should be a nurse," Christina said afterward. I smiled faintly. Life got in the way. Friday evening, Brenda joined me for tea. "My son said I was too negative," she said after a long silence. "His wife didn't want me around the grandkids." Then he stopped answering my calls. 2 years ago. My eyes filled. My son threw me out a week ago because his wife lied. Brenda looked up. Our eyes met. "You understand," she whispered. "The worst part isn't the betrayal. It's that it's your child." We reached across the table and held hands. We cried together. Saturday morning, Judith called me into her office. "I've been watching you," she said. "How you helped Irene. How you calmed Christina. How people trust you." She leaned forward. "We need someone like you. Health coordinator assistant. Paid. $15 an hour, 20 hours a week." I stared at her. "I haven't worked in 10 years. "You've been working all week," she said gently. "Think about it." 2 weeks later, I used my savings to rent a small studio apartment 3 blocks away. 400 square feet, 1 window, clean and simple. I moved in with 1 suitcase. Stephanie helped me buy sheets, towels, dishes, a lamp. She brought yellow daisies that evening. "I'm proud of you, Diane." Tears filled my eyes. "It's been so long since anyone said that." She squeezed my hand. "Get used to it." That night, I stood alone in my studio. The narrow bed, the tiny kitchen, the single window. It was mine. For the first time in years, I didn't need permission to exist. I didn't need to shrink myself. That small studio became my foundation. From there, I would rebuild everything. But it would take time. 3 long years. 3 years. That's how long it took to rebuild a life from nothing. Year 1 foundation. October 2021, I accepted the job. Health coordinator assistant. $15 an hour, 20 hours a week. It felt like someone had handed me my dignity back. In November, I enrolled at Portland Community College for a community health worker certificate, a 9-month program. I was 62, sitting in classrooms with students young enough to be my grandchildren. I worked mornings at Haven House and attended classes at night. My brain hurt. I hadn't studied in 40 years, but I showed up every single day. Residents began asking for me by name. "Ms. Diane listens," they told Judith. "She doesn't judge. She makes me feel important." By spring 2022, word spread. Referrals increased. Women arrived who had been cast out like me, women whose families had discarded them when they became inconvenient. July 2022. I graduated top of my class at 63. Stephanie and Judith came with flowers. When my name was called and I crossed that stage, my first thought was, I wish Stephen could see this. My second thought was quieter. I did this without him. Year 2. Growth. In August 2022, Judith promoted me to Health and Wellness Coordinator, full-time, $22 an hour. I specialized in elder care and family mediation. The work healed something broken inside me. That fall, Haven House received a grant and opened a second location. I trained new staff, built protocols, created systems for intake and follow-up care. In January 2023, I became Associate Director of Health and Wellness, a salaried position managing 3 coordinators across 2 locations. I saw Dr. Ann Henderson weekly. She helped me untangle 35 years of motherhood from one night of betrayal. She taught me I could love my son and still have boundaries. That grief and growth could exist together. At night, I journaled. Sometimes I wrote letters I never sent. Dear Stephen, today I helped a woman abandoned by her daughter. She cried in my arms. I thought of you. I thought of Hannah. Judith suggested dating. You're only 64. You deserve companionship. I smiled. I'm still learning who I am alone. Right now, this Haven House, these people, you and Stephanie, this is enough. This is my family. Year 3 purpose. March 2024, I presented a proposal. Second Acts, a program for women over 50, abandoned or abused by family. Emergency housing, job training, legal support, peer-led groups. The board approved it. In June, we launched. In 3 months, we helped 50 women who believed their lives were over, now rebuilding. The media noticed. The Portland Tribune ran a feature in August Woman Once Homeless at 65 launches program for seniors in crisis. Oregon Public Broadcasting called in September. Sitting before the camera, the reporter asked, "What drives you?" "I know what it feels like to be 62 and told by the person you'd die for that you're worthless," I said. "If I can help one woman know she's not alone, then my pain has meaning. I'm not a victim anymore. I'm a survivor helping survivors." The segment aired late September. The next day, Judith entered my office, excitement tempered by caution. "We have a partner," she said. "Cascade Tech Solutions. They're hosting a charity gala, $500 a seat. This could change everything." I smiled. "There's one thing," she added. "Their VP of Operations is emceeing." She paused. "His name is Stephen Fletcher." I stared at Judith. "Stephen Fletcher, are you sure?" She nodded. I checked his LinkedIn. "Is this him?" She held out her phone. I looked at the screen. Professional headshot. Older now. Gray streaking through his hair at the temples. Lines around his eyes. But unmistakably my son. My voice shook. "That's him. That's my son." Judith's face fell. "Oh, Diane, I had no idea. If you want, I can decline this partnership. We'll find another sponsor." "No." I cut her off. "Don't decline. This is too big for Haven House. For the women here." "But you'll be the keynote speaker," Judith said gently. "You'll have to—" "I know." She explained the logistics. The gala would be at the Sentinel Hotel on October 19th, 3 weeks away, 200 guests, $500 a seat. Stephen would be emceeing the entire event. Then she showed me the email chain, an administrative error. In the initial correspondence, I had been listed as D. Fletcher, Associate Director. Stephen had no idea who the keynote speaker really was. I had a choice: withdraw, send someone else, or show up. That weekend, I barely left my studio apartment. I sat at my small kitchen table and stared at the wall. Saturday afternoon, Stephanie knocked on my door. She took one look at my face and made tea without asking. "What do you want to happen, Diane?" she asked after a long silence. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug. "I don't want revenge. That's not who I am." I paused. "But I want him to see who I became without him. I want him to understand that throwing me away didn't destroy me. It freed me." Stephanie leaned forward. "Then show up, stand on that stage. Tell your truth, not for him, for you, for closure." The next week I wrote my speech. I revised it. I tore it up and started over. I practiced in front of my bathroom mirror until the words felt right. I read it to Judith and Stephanie one evening at Haven House. When I finished, Judith had tears in her eyes. "It's perfect," she said quietly. "Honest, strong, No bitterness, just truth. A week before the gala, I went shopping for a dress. I found a simple black one. Elegant, but not expensive. Judith loaned me her grandmother's pearl necklace. "For courage," she said as she fastened it around my neck. The night before the event, I could not sleep. I lay in my narrow bed and stared at the ceiling. I thought about Stephen, about Hannah, who would be 7 now. Did she remember me? Did she ever ask about her grandmother? I thought about peace, about justice, about what I wanted from tomorrow. At 3 in the morning, I sat up and whispered to the dark room. Tomorrow I'll tell the truth. Nothing more, nothing less, just the truth. The morning of October 19th, I stood in my bathroom in the black dress and pearls. My gray hair was styled. My face looked calm, strong. I looked at myself in the mirror and said the words I needed to hear. I'm ready, not for revenge, for truth, for myself. I walked into the Sentinel Hotel at 6 that evening. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and gold accents. 200 people in formal wear mingled with champagne glasses. Corporate executives, nonprofit leaders, local press. Somewhere in that crowd was my son, the boy I had raised, the man who had thrown me away, and he had no idea his mother was about to take the stage. Backstage at the Sentinel Hotel, the murmur of 200 people rose behind the velvet curtain. I stood in the dim wings with Judith and Stephanie. Staff members rushed past with clipboards. A technician adjusted sound levels. Someone tested the microphone on stage. 1, 2, check. Judith squeezed my hand. "Are you nervous?" "Terrified," I said. "My heart won't stop racing." Stephanie leaned close. "That's adrenaline. It means you're alive. You can do this, Diane. He needs to see what he lost and what you found." I stepped toward the curtain and peeked through a narrow gap. The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting warm light over 200 guests in formal attire. Round tables draped in white linens filled the space. Cascade Tech Solutions banners hung along the walls. At the front, a stage held a podium, a microphone, and a large screen for presentations. At 6:15, I saw him. Stephen walked in with a man in a gray suit. My son wore navy. He looked older, but unmistakably himself. Professional, confident. He laughed at something his colleague said. The other man clapped Stephen's shoulder. "You ready, Stephen, big night for the company?" "Absolutely," Stephen replied. "I'm excited to support a good cause. Haven House does incredible work." They found their table near the front. Stephen picked up the program and scanned it. I watched his eyes move down the page. "Keynote speaker," he read aloud. "D. Fletcher, Associate Director. Common name." There was no photo in the program, just the title. He set it down without another thought. My chest tightened. He had no idea. By 6:45, the event began. The lights dimmed. Guests settled into their seats. Conversation lowered to whispers. At 7 o'clock, Judith walked onto the stage. She looked calm and radiant in a deep blue dress. The audience applauded politely. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began. "Your support for Haven House means everything to us." She paused, letting her words settle. "Tonight I want to tell you about someone very special." I gripped Stephanie's hand. 3 years ago, she came to us with nothing. Judith continued. No home, no job. She could barely speak from the pain she carried. Her voice grew stronger. Today, she is our Associate Director of Health and Wellness. She created a program that has helped over 150 women rebuild their lives after being abandoned by their families. I felt tears prick my eyes. "She is the heart of Haven House," Judith said, "and tonight she will share her story with you." Stephanie whispered in my ear, "You've got this. Show him who you are." Judith's voice rang clear across the ballroom. "Please welcome Associate Director Diane Fletcher." Applause erupted, 200 people clapping. I took one final breath. Stephanie released my hand. I stepped toward the stage entrance. My heels clicked on the polished wood as I walked into the blinding lights. The applause grew louder. I kept my eyes on the podium, focusing on each step. Then I looked out at the audience. 3rd row, center seats. My son. Stephen's face had drained of all color. His mouth opened slightly. His hands gripped the edge of the table. He stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. because to him I was. Before I reveal what happened next on that stage, I need to ask, do you think Stephen deserves forgiveness after what he did? Comment yes if you believe in second chances, or no if some betrayals are unforgivable. Let me know below. And please note, the story ahead contains fictionalized elements for narrative purposes. If you prefer not to continue, feel free to stop here. The stage lights hit my face as I walked toward the podium with calm, measured steps, and then our eyes met. Stephen glanced up when the applause began. Then he looked again, closer. His eyes widened. I kept walking, professional and steady, from the left entrance to the center podium, where Judith waited with the microphone. The lights were warm. I could see the first rows clearly. Beyond them, darkness. Stephen sat in the third row center seats, Greg Thompson beside him. Stephen's face went white. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Judith handed me the microphone. I took it with steady hands. "Thank you, Judith," I said, calm and clear. Then I turned slightly, looked at my son. "Thank you, Stephen." The program in his hands began to shake. The paper trembled until it slipped free and scattered across the floor. He half stood, then froze. His legs failed him. He stared at me with an expression I had never seen: shock, disbelief, horror. He whispered a word I couldn't hear, but I knew it. "Mom." I did not answer. I faced the audience. Stephen collapsed back into his chair. His hands flew to his mouth. Greg Thompson leaned toward him. "Stephen, are you okay? You look like you just saw a ghost." Stephen couldn't speak. He only stared. Murmurs spread through the room. People sensed something unfolding, though they didn't know what. I gripped the podium with both hands, not for effect, but to steady myself. My heart pounded. I breathed and looked out at 200 faces, curious, confused, waiting. Behind me, the screen showed the Haven House logo. In front of me sat strangers, and in the third row, the son who had thrown me into a storm 3 years earlier. I leaned toward the microphone. "Good evening," I said. "My name is Diane Fletcher. I am 65 years old." Pause. Let Stephen hear it. 3 years ago, I had a son, a daughter-in-law, a granddaughter. I had a home. I believed I had a family. Stephen's hands shook as he pressed them to the table. One night in October 2021, my daughter-in-law accused me of stealing money. She planted fake evidence texts on my phone, hotel receipts in my drawer, cash hidden in my Bible. My voice stayed even. My son believed her, without asking my side, without questioning the proof. He threw me out during a rainstorm. The ballroom went silent. I was 62. I had nowhere to go, no one to call. I walked for hours until a car hit me in a crosswalk. Gasps rose. The woman who hit me was an off-duty police officer named Stephanie Young. She stayed with me at the hospital. She called a nonprofit called Haven House. They took me in that night. I paused. 3 years ago, I arrived at Haven House with nothing. Today, I am the Associate Director of Health and Wellness. I created Second Acts, a program for women over 50 abandoned by their families. In 1 year, we helped over 150 women rebuild their lives. Applause swelled. I raised a hand, quieting it. "I'm not sharing this for sympathy," I said. "I'm sharing it because every woman in our program has a similar story. A child who stopped calling a partner, who left a family who decided they were too old, too difficult, too expensive to love." My eyes found Stephen. Silent tears streamed down his face. "I'm sharing this because the woman who discarded me did me a favor. She freed me to discover who I was without shrinking myself. She freed me to build a family of choice instead of obligation." I took a breath. "And I'm sharing this because my son is sitting in the third row, and he had no idea his mother was standing on this stage." Then I told them everything, and the room was ready for truth. 3 years ago, in October 2021, on a stormy night, I was homeless. I let the words hang in the air. I was not homeless because of addiction, not because of mental illness or poor choices. I was homeless because my son threw me out of his house in the middle of a storm, based on a lie. Murmurs rippled through the audience immediately, shocked faces, people leaning toward each other, whispering. In the third row, Stephen's head dropped into his hands. His shoulders began to shake. I kept going. For 5 years after my husband William died, I lived with my son and his family. I was a widow. I gave them $120,000, my entire life savings, to help buy their house. I raised my granddaughter while they worked. I cooked their meals. I cleaned their home. I loved them with everything I had. I paused, let the words settle. Then my daughter-in-law lied. My voice stayed steady, calm, matter of fact. She had gambling debts. She had stolen $5,000 from their joint savings account, and when my son discovered the money was missing, she blamed me. Gasps from the audience. People sat straighter in their chairs, leaning forward now. She staged evidence. I continued. Fake text messages on my phone from a man I had never met. Hotel receipts planted in my desk drawer. Cash hidden inside my Bible. She created an entire false narrative, made it look like I was living a secret life, like I was a thief stealing from my own family. Stephen's face was streaked with tears now. He pressed his hand over his mouth, trying to muffle the sounds. Greg Thompson put a hand on his shoulder, concerned, confused. I did not look away from the audience. When my son confronted me with this so-called evidence, he did not ask questions. He did not investigate. He did not give me a single chance to defend myself or tell my side of the story. My voice dropped lower, quieter. He just believed her. Silence in the ballroom, 200 people holding their breath. He looked me in the eyes, I said, and told me, "Get out. I don't want a thief like you in my house." Several audience members gasped audibly. One woman in the front row covered her mouth with her hand. Another shook her head slowly. "It was raining that night," I said. "October weather in Portland, 45 degrees, cold and wet. I was 62 years old. I had no phone. My daughter-in-law still had it in her hand. I had no car keys, no wallet, just my purse and the coat I was wearing." My voice wavered for the first time. I had nowhere to go. I stopped, took a breath, steadied myself. I wandered through downtown Portland for hours. I was soaked to the bone, shivering so hard my teeth chattered. I became disoriented, confused. I did not know where I was going anymore. I just kept walking because I did not know what else to do. Another pause, longer this time. Stephen's shoulders shook harder. His head stayed buried in his hands. Greg leaned closer, whispering something I could not hear. By 11 o'clock that night, I was suffering from early-stage hypothermia. My fingers had gone numb. My thinking was clouded. I remember standing at a crosswalk on Burnside Street. I looked out at the faces watching me, riveted, horrified, waiting. And then I stepped into traffic without realizing it. The room held its breath. I was hit by a car. Complete silence. You could hear people breathing. Then I said the words that would change everything. But someone stopped. Someone saved me. Officer Stephanie Young hit me with her car, and she refused to leave. I gestured toward the front. "Officer Young is here tonight." The spotlight swept the crowd and found Stephanie 10 rows back. She lifted a small wave. Her eyes shone. She smiled through tears. "She stayed with me in the emergency room," I said. At 2 a.m, when I had no one, she made a phone call to Dr. Judith Campbell. I looked to the front row. Judith nodded, wiping her cheeks. Dr. Campbell runs Haven House. She came to the hospital at 6 that morning, and she gave me something I thought I had lost forever. I paused. Humanity. A place to heal. A community. The ballroom went silent. In my first weeks at Haven House, I continued, I learned that family is not always blood. Sometimes it is the police officer who refuses to leave a stranger's hospital bed. Sometimes it is the director who sees potential in a 62-year-old woman in crisis. Sometimes it is the women who take your hand when you cannot stand. Emotion rippled through the room. People cried. They nodded. They held hands. Second acts. The program we honor tonight exists because I know what it feels like. I said, steady now. I know what it feels like to be 62 and have the person you would die for tell you that you are worthless. I know what it feels like to have nowhere to go, no one to call and think, is this how I die? I let the words land. But I also know what it feels like to rebuild from nothing, to discover you are stronger than you imagined, to realize abandonment is not the end, it is the beginning. People began to stand. I gripped the podium. My son is in this room tonight. Every head turned to Stephen in the third row. He sat, frozen tears streaking his face. He is emceeing this event, I said. He did not know I would be here. The room rose as one. 3 years ago, he told me to leave. Tonight I stand here not for revenge, but so he and all of you understand this. The applause stilled. Your worth is not decided by who stays in your life. It is decided by what you build after they leave. I breathed. To every woman in second acts, you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. Thank you. The ballroom exploded in a standing ovation that lasted 90 seconds. People cried. They clapped until it hurt. Stephen stood in the middle of it, unable to move, staring at me. I stepped off stage. Judith and Stephanie wrapped me in their arms. We held each other in silence. Guests came in waves. Praise, gratitude, hugs. I answered politely, but my thoughts were elsewhere. Stephen had not moved. Greg Thompson spoke quietly beside him. Stephen's shoulders shook. 30 minutes later, the crowd thinned. I collected my coat. Judith and Stephanie walked with me toward the exit. Near the coat check, Stephen waited alone. His eyes were swollen, his hands trembled. He took one step forward. "Mom," he said, breaking. "Please, can we talk?" I stopped. The space between us stretched. I looked at Judith. She nodded. "Your choice." I looked at Stephanie. She squeezed my hand. Then I looked at Stephen, the boy I raised, the man who broke me, the man crying now. 5 minutes, I said, outside. The doors closed behind us and the noise faded, leaving only breath, winter air, and truth, waiting for whatever came next. We stood in the hotel courtyard. Light rain fell, misty drizzle. Brick walls, a small fountain, covered area. Through the glass doors, Judith and Stephanie watched, protective but giving space. Stephen and I faced each other, 6 feet apart. His voice broke. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I know sorry isn't enough. You threw me out in a storm," I said calmly. "I was hit by a car. 4 stitches. I spent the night in an ER alone, thinking I was going to die." He started crying. "I replay that night every day. I see your face at the door. I hear myself telling you to leave. I hate myself." "When did you find out the truth?" 6 months later, April 2022. Courtney Amber's friend told me at a party. She couldn't keep the secret anymore. The gambling, the fake evidence, how Amber planned it all. 6 months, I said. "It took you 6 months." I hired Detective Craig Simmons the next day. He found bank records showing the poker accounts, Hilton security footage showing Amber alone creating the receipt, burner phone texts, everything. And Amber, when I confronted her, she confessed. I filed for divorce that week, final by September 2022. Rain pattered around us. "I've been looking for you for 2.5 years. His voice was desperate. "Your phone was disconnected. Your friends wouldn't tell me where you were. I checked every shelter in Portland. I filed a missing person report, but you weren't missing. You just didn't want to be found." "You're right, I didn't. I deserved that. Stephen, you looked for me because you felt guilty, not because you believed me. When it mattered most, you chose her word over 35 years of me never lying to you. That's what I can't forget." "I know." He was sobbing. "I failed you. It was unforgivable, but please, I have forgiven you." He looked up. Hope flickered. "You have, for my peace, not yours." He stopped. "What does that mean?" "It means I don't hate you. I hope you're healthy and happy, but it doesn't mean I want you back in my life the way it was." His face crumbled. "Mom, please. Hannah asks about you every day. She draws pictures for you. She cries. She's 7 now and she remembers you. She asks, 'When is Grandma coming home?' I don't know how to answer." My face softened. Tears welled. "How is she?" "Smart. Funny. She looks like you. Same smile. 2nd grade. Ms. Taylor's class. She loves art and reading." His voice broke. "She misses her grandma. I think about her every day. Every morning I wonder if she still remembers me." "She does. I promise." He pulled out a business card. "I'm not asking for everything to go back. Just coffee once a month. Lunch with Hannah. Anything. I'll take whatever you're willing to give." "I need time, Stephen. This is too big. This is my cell number. It hasn't changed. Call me anytime if you're ready." I took the card, looked at it. He whispered, "I love you. I never stopped. I know I have no right to say that, but it's true. Tears streamed down my face. I know Stephen. I love you too. That's why this hurts so much. I turned, walked back toward the glass doors. I did not look back. Stephen stood alone in the courtyard, rain falling around him. I stepped inside. Judith touched my arm. Are you okay? I nodded. As I walked to the parking lot, I slipped Stephen's business card into my coat pocket. Monday morning, October 21st, 2024, my phone would not stop vibrating. 47 missed calls, over 200 text messages. I stared at the screen, confused, half awake in my small studio apartment 3 blocks from Haven House. Then I saw Judith's message, Diane, check YouTube, now. Someone at the gala had filmed my speech on their phone and posted it Sunday night under the title, Mother Confronts Son Who Abandoned Her. Powerful speech. By Sunday night, it had 50,000 views. By Monday morning, 500,000. By Wednesday, 2 million. The comments overwhelmed me. I'm the son who did this to my mother. I'm crying. I need to call her now. My daughter discarded me 3 years ago. I thought I was alone. Thank you. This is the face of elder abuse. Share this everywhere. Media requests flooded in Good Morning America Story Corps from NPR local Portland stations. I ignored them all. But I couldn't ignore what Judith told me Thursday. Donations are up 300%, she said. We can expand Second Acts to 2 more cities. Haven House received calls from donors nationwide. Women reached out asking how to join the program. My story, our story, was helping people. Stephen's emails began that first week. He sent them to Haven House's general inbox. I saw the subject lines but didn't open them. Week 1. Mom, I don't expect a response. I just need to say I'm sorry again. Week 3, I told Hannah I saw you. She cried with happiness. For 6 weeks, I left them unopened. Week 7, I finally read them, and I cried. In November, Judith called me into her office. We received an anonymous donation, she said carefully. $50,000. I exhaled. Let me guess. I traced it, she admitted. It's from Stephen. Anger rose in my chest. He's trying to buy his way back. Judith stayed calm. Maybe. Or maybe he's supporting what you built. Those aren't the same thing. Handwritten letters followed. 4 of them spread across November. The first detailed everything Courtney's confession, the private investigator Craig Simmons' bank records, showing Amber's gambling hotel security footage, the divorce finalized September 2022. The second was a memory me staying all night in the hospital when he had pneumonia singing until he slept. The third held drawings from Hannah stick figures labeled Grandma and me holding hands. The fourth was simple. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know I'm sorry. I kept them in a drawer. Some nights I read them, some nights I couldn't. Dr. Ann Henderson became my anchor. Twice a week, she helped me separate anger from grief. Forgiveness and reconciliation are different, she said. What do you want? I wanted to see Hannah, but I was afraid Stephen would hurt me again. One December evening, Stephanie visited. We drank tea. What does your gut say? She asked. That Hannah deserves her grandmother, I said. And maybe Stephen deserves a chance not to go backward but forward. December 10th, 2024, 11:00 p.m. After deleting 2 drafts, I sent this. Stephen, I'm willing to have lunch. Public place, 1 hour, no promises. Let me know. Diane. At 11:03 p.m., his reply arrived. Yes, anytime, thank you. I sat alone staring at the screen. 1 step forward. December 18th, 2024. The Garden Bistro, a busy lunch spot in downtown Portland. Neutral territory. I arrived at 11:50 a.m., chose a corner table and ordered coffee. Stephen walked in at 11:58. He looked anxious, thinner than he had at the gala. We sat across from each other. The greeting was awkward. The first 10 minutes were painful small talk, weather, traffic, safe topics that meant nothing. Then Stephen pulled out his phone. Can I show you something? Photos of Hannah? At school? In a Halloween costume? At a birthday party? My eyes filled. She's gotten so big. She made you a birthday card, Stephen said quietly. I left it in the car. Can I bring it next time? I paused. Next time. If you're willing. I'll wait as long as it takes. I told him about Second Acts, about the women I'd helped, about finding purpose again. His voice cracked. I'm proud of you, Mom. I know I don't have the right, but what you've built is extraordinary. I whispered thank you. When the hour ended, Stephen asked, "Can we do this again?" "Maybe in a month. Let me think about it. I'll wait." January 15th, 2025, our second meeting, less awkward. By late January, I agreed to coffee every 2 weeks instead of monthly. In February, Stephen began volunteering at Haven House IT support 3 hours every Saturday. Judith told me he's quiet, works hard, doesn't ask about you. I watched once from my office window as he helped Irene Foster with her tablet, patient and kind. I thought the son I raised was still there. March 10th, 2025, I agreed to see Hannah, Laurelhurst Park, 2 p.m. on a Sunday. Judith came for support and waited on a distant bench. Stephen arrived with Hannah, now 8. She saw me froze, then ran. "Grandma, Grandma." I dropped to my knees. She crashed into my arms. We cried. "I missed you so much." "Where did you go?" "I missed you too," I told her. 2 hours passed in the park. Drawings, stories, swings, laughter. Stephen watched from a bench 10 meters away, tears streaming, never interrupting. Before leaving, Hannah asked, "Can I see you next week?" I looked at Stephen. He nodded. "Yes, next week." Weekly park visits followed. In April, Stephen asked if I'd attend Hannah's school play. May 15th, 2025, I went. Hannah played Tinkerbell. I sat in back. Stephen sat ahead. Afterward, Hannah introduced me to her teacher. "This is my grandma. She helps people who need families." June brought our first dinner together, all 3 of us. It felt almost normal. I didn't stay overnight. I wasn't ready, and I might never be. In July, Stephen asked a harder question. "Would you want us at your ceremony?" "The Governor's Volunteer Award," he explained. I asked for time. By late July, we had boundaries, weekly dinners with Hannah, bi-weekly coffee, no talk of returning to the past. "I forgive you," I told Stephen, "but this is our normal." "I'll take whatever you give," he said. In early August, I decided they could come. 2 months later, in October 2025, I would stand on another stage not to confront, but to celebrate how far we had come. October 15th, 2025, the Governor's Volunteer Award Ceremony, Oregon Convention Center. 500 guests, 4 years to the day after the storm. I stood backstage in a navy dress. Judith adjusted my hair. "How are you feeling?" "Grateful, nervous, ready." Stephanie appeared with flowers. "Congratulations!" 7 p.m. The governor spoke. "Tonight we honor those who transformed their communities through service." The MC continued. "This year's recipient helped over 200 women rebuild their lives after family abandonment. She created second acts now in 4 Oregon cities. 3 years ago, she was homeless. Today, she is hope." The audience came into focus. Front row, Judith beaming. Row 2, Stephanie filming and crying. Row 3, Haven House residents with handmade signs. "Thank you, Ms. Diane. You saved my life." Row 5, Irene, Christina, Brenda standing waving. Row 12, Stephen and Hannah. Hannah bounced, "That's Grandma." I walked to the stage, received the Crystal Award, stepped to the microphone. "Thank you, Governor Martinez. This award doesn't belong to me alone. 4 years ago, I had nothing. Officer Stephanie Young found me at my most desperate. Dr. Judith Campbell gave me purpose. To the 200 women we've helped, this is your award. You did the work. I just held the door open." I glanced toward Stephen and Hannah. Family is complicated. There are families of blood, families we build, and families that break and rebuild slowly, carefully. Stephen covered his mouth, tears streaming. "To anyone abandoned or told they are worthless, you are not your worst moment. We are defined by what we build afterward." "Thank you." Standing ovation, 90 seconds. I stepped off stage into Judith and Stephanie's arms. Haven House residents swarmed, hugging, crying, celebrating. Hannah ran to me. "Grandma, you won." I lifted her. "We all won, sweetheart." Stephen stood back. "Congratulations, Mom. I'm so proud of you." "Thank you for coming, both of you." His lips moved silently. "I love you. I'm sorry." I nodded with a small smile. Outside, the cool October evening wrapped around us. Judith on my left, Stephanie on my right, arms linked. Stephen and Hannah 3 meters away. I turned and waved. Hannah waved back enthusiastically. Stephen lifted his hand slowly. In that moment, standing between the family I had lost and the family I had found, I understood healing isn't about erasing the past or returning to what was. It's about building something new from broken pieces. Today's second acts operates in 6 cities and has helped 350 women. I see Hannah weekly. Stephen and I have dinner monthly. Our relationship is fragile but growing. People ask if I'm angry about that night, October 8th, 2021. I'm not. It led me here. To this purpose. To people who chose me when I had nothing. That night, I lost a family. But I found myself. And that was worth everything. Looking back at my journey, I want to share what I've learned not just as Diane Fletcher, but as someone who survived the unthinkable. Don't be like I was. I gave everything $120,000, 5 years unconditional love without protecting myself. I trusted blindly because he was my son. But trust without boundaries isn't love. It's vulnerability waiting to be exploited. Protect your finances, maintain independence, and never sacrifice your entire identity for someone else. These family drama stories teach us that blood doesn't always mean loyalty. Too many family drama stories end with elders losing everything. The biggest lesson: God doesn't waste our pain. When I was on that wet pavement in October 2021, I thought God had abandoned me, but he was redirecting me. The storm that destroyed my old life became the foundation for my new purpose. Stephanie Judith Haven House, they were God's hands catching me. In grandma's stories like mine, there's always a moment when you realize sometimes God removes people to make room for your destiny. These grandma stories aren't just about loss, they're about resurrection. To anyone watching who feels discarded or worthless, you are not your worst moment. Your second act is waiting. These family drama stories and grandma stories remind us that healing is possible. Chosen family can be stronger than blood, and God's plan often looks nothing like we imagined. If this touched you, please comment below. Have you experienced something similar? Subscribe and share this video with someone who needs hope. Your engagement helps these stories reach others. Thank you for staying until the end. Please note upcoming stories contain fictionalized elements created for educational purposes. If this isn't for you, explore other content that suits your preferences. God bless you all.
여기까지.
하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱.
네. 또 오늘도 상쾌하게 또 운동 시작했습니다. 예. 일단 음료수 좀 하나 먹고 뜨끈한 거 뭐라도 하나 먹읍시다. 뜨끈한 거. 네, 다들 반가워요. 어서오세요. 뜨끈한 거 음료수 한잔 합시다.
빵꾸똥꾸아 따님 별풍선 10개 감사합니다.
또 10개 감사합니다.
음료 하나 마시오.
네네. 예, 꾸롱삼 하나 먹을게요. 꾸롱삼.